In this session, we'll try to share how Nile is redefining, reimagining the network to make it simple, secured, reliable as electricity. But this is not just about sharing our story, but we would like to hear your feedback, your inputs, your insights. You guys bring in tons of experience. So we want to have interactive session, as Tom mentioned. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible. If not, we'll try to do at the end of it or in the closed session. With that, your insights are helpful in shaping our story. And as we continue to innovate, let's get started. I'm Suresh Katukam. I'm one of the co-founders and chief product officer at Nile. Joining me today, I have some incredible colleagues who bring in tons of experience that handle some of the toughest challenges in networking industry. Shiv Mehra, who is head of our services and solution, he has seen the complexity. He has seen the operational challenges in his 20 years of experience in the wireless industry. He has been on a mission to eliminate the complexity and operational challenges. He's been focusing on simplifying the networks so that you can deliver the best customer experience. Then we have Ibrahim, who is our AI mastermind. He thinks of the problems and the solutions that we take it for granted. And he goes beyond that and he maniacally focuses on delivering best experience for every user and device. And he'll share some of those things as we go through the presentation. And before joining Nile, he worked at AI ops companies. And he realized that AI has limitations. If you try to go and apply AI on existing hardware and software, you can only do so much. Think of taking 1992 Toyota Corolla, or for that matter of fact, even today's Toyota Corolla, and try to turn it into autopilot car. You cannot really do it. So he realized that Nile built entire hardware and software from ground up to really have a closed loop automation with a deep instrumentation, lots of sensors, lots of data that's really designed to enable the AI. Since he joined Nile, he has taken us to new heights. Dipen Vade, he leads our wireless as well as AI automation center. So we'll spend a lot of time on AI automation center, which pretty much guarantees the network without having the people managing the networks. And Dipen brings in tons of experience in the wireless industry, as well as first principle approach to solving some of the complex problems. So before starting the company, we've been in the industry. As you guys know, the founding team has tons of experience, almost 20, 30 years of experience each one of us has. We talk to hundreds of customers, CIOs, CISOs, as well as the network engineers to CFOs. These are the things we heard. 48% of the customer base do not want to manage the networks. The day zero, day one, day two, lifecycle management, software upgrades, piece certs, end of life, end of support. They said that's not the business we are in. We want someone else to take care of it. Second is, all the IT teams always have more things to do than what they're, in terms of resources and time. So they want to free up the IT resources so that they can focus on strategic initiatives. And third, when you talk to CFOs, they said that, hey, we've been consuming a lot of our applications as a service, and we pay a subscription model. And we want to consume network as a service, where we want to pay true per user per month or per square foot per month model. So this is not a lipstick on a pig. We're taking the financial model, a leasing model, or not a renting model. True subscription model is what they're looking for. But at the same time, you cannot compromise on the performance of the network and the security of the network. So again, as we talk to many CIOs and CISOs, they're clearly telling us network is coming in the way of digital transformation, and they want the network to get out of the way. Now, let's talk about what Nile does, and why we started the company. See, networking industry does not need another networking company. We all know that. There are many networking companies. So when we all came together, we fundamentally believed every organization, every person in the world deserves high performance, low latency, secured connectivity that's simple, reliable, secured, simply works as electricity. We believe connectivity should be as foundational as electricity that powers every organization in the world. But at the same time, we've been in the industry for the last 20, 30 years. All of us have lots of experience. So when we go and talk to our customers and partners, it takes time. Frankly, it does take time, because when you shift the paradigm and you're the first one in the industry to deliver it, it takes time for an audience to understand it. I'll give you an example. I was invited to Denver by a global managed service provider. They manage Fortune 500 companies' networks. And there were about 20 people, and 10 of them hardcore network engineers. They have multiple CCIEs. They know every protocol, every architecture, every knob, from the FAT access points to controller-based access points to cloud-based management to the latest software-defined LAN, all of these aspects. 10 of them hardcore engineers. Other 10 know all the network operational challenges because they have taken large Fortune 500 company networks. They take it on, they redesign it, and manage it and monitor it. So when I started presenting it, first 20 minutes, they were skeptical. Hey, you can't really simplify the network that has been there for 30 years. It's extremely complex. So first 20 minutes, they didn't really pay attention. They were slacking, they're doing their own stuff. 20 minutes later, they started getting curious. And 40 minutes, they paid a lot of attention to what I was presenting. An hour later, they started asking lots of questions. And that questions lasted for 2 hours. And net, after 3 hours later, when teams started asking questions, their own team started answering how Nile would really handle it. 4 hours later, frankly, I can tell you that they said this is exactly the what world needs. So we hope in this session, we try to accomplish part of it. We may not be able to get to that aha moment, but hope to see if we can get you to part of the along the journey. What do? We are the first one in the industry to offer true campus network as a service. See what you see on the left side of the slide, the Nile service block, the wireless access layer, wired access layer, distribution layer, in some cases core layer. We have a customer with 40 building campus. In such cases, you need a core layer. Entire hardware and the software and operations associated with it is delivered as a service. This is a purpose-built hardware and software, which we'll go into more details on that. But we are not selling you the hardware. We're not selling you the software. We're not selling you the features. We're not selling you the knobs. Instead, we guarantee the service. What do we mean by that? We deploy physical sensors throughout your building, every corner of the building. Every sensor acts like an end user, testing the network every minute, multiple times a minute, showing you the network is up and running. You have 5-bar Wi-Fi coverage. You have the capacity. If you don't meet our commitment, we have financial liability. That is what we guarantee to our customers. This is outside in perspective, not inside out. It's not that network claiming that it's up and running. It is really the end user can have that experience. But more importantly, when you think of the networking and as a service, the security has to be built in. In this session, frankly, we'll not be able to cover the security part of it. Tomorrow, we're launching our Nile Trust service. That's the name of our security service. And I'll mention 2 minutes about our Zero Trust security. There are 3 levels of security we talk about. First level is your physical network. How well is your physical network secured? So I'll give you some examples of what we do. In our case, the physical network itself is like a black box. External hackers cannot see anything that's happening inside our physical network. They cannot discover the network topology. They'll not be able to ping any of the network devices. They'll not be able to discover any device that's connected to the network. It's like a black box. In fact, there's no management port, no console port, no telnet, no SSH for anyone to log into our boxes. It's too like a black box. And more importantly, every device, the AP, the switch, or another switch, they mutually authenticate with each other before they start forming the peer relationship. And on top of that, we have a MACsec chip starting from in the AP all the way to the end switch. The entire traffic is end-to-end encrypted. So you can see that physical network is completely secured. Then second is every user and device is authenticated, authorized. We do not give you, there are no VLANs. We'll go into more details on that one. We do not have VLANs. We do not give you the switches and the APs for you to go and configure it. This is truly delivered as a service. So you focus on how users get on the network. You want the users to get on the network using .1x or single sign-on, even for the wireless side as well as wired side. You can plug in your laptop, single sign-on page comes up, and we connect you with the AD groups, Active Directory, get the AD groups so that you can apply the policies based on the AD groups. And devices, we have MAC authentication bypass, and we have device fingerprinting based model, and we have behavioral analytics to identify whether the device says what it is. So every user device has to be authenticated, authorized, and we do continuous authentication of the devices or the users. And then third is, once you're on the network, every user and device is isolated from each other. Literally a segment of one or a network of one. If your device is compromised, the blast radius is only limited to that particular device. You cannot compromise. We stop the lateral movement of the malware in the network. And on top of that, we give you the ability to set up your policies, which group or which user can connect to which group, which device. And you can also go all the way to defining the user groups based on the AD groups or based on the fingerprinting of the devices, then apply the policies. So we'll probably come back and talk about the security in another session. And third one is, this is true consumption-based model. You pay per user per month or per square foot per month based on the use case. You never buy the hardware, you never buy the software, you never have to think of end of life, end of support, research, software upgrades, all of that is taken care under the consumption model. And then more importantly, the AI automation, how do we deliver this service? That is where we'll spend most of the time. So AI automation is something that benefits us. It's an outcome to you guys. The outcome for you is guaranteed service, built-in zero trust, and always on service. With that, let's talk about, why did we set up to do it? When you think of networks, 30-year-old, all of you have lots of experience. And some of the Fortune 500 customers, they have the expertise, they have the resources, they have the time. They can go and build all this, design these networks and manage and monitor. If you look at cloud computing, they democratized lots of capabilities, compute, server, storage, databases, AI capabilities to masses of the world. Whether you're a 10 people company, whether you're a 10,000 people company, you get the access to all those capabilities. Similarly, we are here to democratize high performance, secured connectivity for every organization in the world. You don't have to, think of the networking. So if you think of the cloud computing, you don't have to think of the data centers. AWS, Google, Microsoft, they manage their own data centers. You as a customer focus on microservices, your business application. With Nile, you don't have to think of underlying campus hardware or the branch networking. You focus on users, devices, and applications.
Question, Ron Westfall, Futurum Group. I'm sure it's inevitable. It's just the multi-vendor question. When somebody adopts, the Nile solution, how much flexibility is there to say, I want to use a third-party automation solution or a third-party zero security solution? I mean, how does that play out, and how does that impact the Nile sales cycle?
Sure. So thank you, Ron. And first of all, you can imagine 95% of our customer base is brownfield. We go into existing deployments. And typically customers start with one building, but you still have the rest of the buildings on existing networks, and we have to interoperate with your existing NaaS solutions. If you think of it on existing routers / firewalls and SD-WAN, we do interoperate with all of them. So we understand from day one, you have to interoperate with the existing one. So we can go ahead and fit into your existing systems. And that's how we deployed across the customer base. So to answer a little bit more, whether like your DHCP, DNS, radios, and NaaS solutions and the routers, all of those you can continue to use it, right? But more importantly, when it comes to the network itself, to deliver that always-on service, to deliver that guaranteed and the closed-loop automation, the wired and wireless, the Nile service block is ours. We do have customers who say that, hey, can I do just one floor? The answer is yes. Can I do one building? The answer is yes. And can I just do wireless-only deployment with Nile? And can I do wired with someone else? Typically, that's not the preferred approach, but we have done those. But when our wireless deployment does come with switches, because we have what we call intelligent headers that manage the entire thing. Mm-hmm. So it comes with it, but otherwise we have done lots of brownfield deployments in all different situations.
How that impacts the sales cycle? I mean, can you characterize what the Nile sales cycle is like?
Sure. So definitely, if you look at a typical enterprise sales cycle, networking sales cycle has been in my past experience, I've been at every other networking company, is about 6 to 9 months, typically. Okay. All right. And it's the same thing with us. It does, it takes a while for people to understand. As I said, it does, they start with the skepticism. Hey, how can this happen? Second is they start getting curious. Then they start asking a lot of questions. And then they start getting aha moment. And then they fall in love. And that's what we have seen with every customer out there. Was there a question on the remote?
Yeah, Lee Badman here. Quick question for you before we get into the more advanced stuff. So who actually does the installation? I mean, is this like something that partners have to do? Can in-house IT staff do it? I'm just trying to understand where the rubber meets the road before you get into the more beefier topic.
So Lee, actually we have simplified that approach. We will walk you through that. But physically, someone has to go to on-site rack and stack, right? Even that, we made it really simple. Literally, cabling guys, low voltage guys are able to go and deploy the network and bring up the network. So typically, we work with the customers and their partners. If they have partners or the customers, they can rack and stack and bring it up, but they don't have to know anything about the networking. We do not have any configuration documents for any of our APs or switches. Even internally, we don't have any of those things. So to your point, Lee, yes, the partners are the customers who deploy, rack and stack, but we have a project manager we call service delivery manager that's assigned to that project, works with them, and we ship the entire bill of material, right? We do the network design, network architecture, which will go into the details, but we ship that, and the person or the customer or the partner would rack and stack and bring up the network.
So, oh, go ahead.
All right. Cheryl Connell, kind of to add on that, if talking if university environments, there's constantly renovations, buildings changing, floors being turned into offices from classrooms or vice versa. Is that every time something changes, you bring the people back in again? And
So just like today, let's be honest, whenever there is a change, something may have to change, but we'll walk you through that scenario. How exactly? So as we go through it, we'll walk through
Okay.
that scenario. Yeah. Correct?
Mine's kind of related. How do we deal with change control? And so we do a lot of work in pharmaceuticals, and we have to go through these complex processes from a change management perspective, qualification perspective. I don't even know how we would do that.
Sure. So first of all, let me clarify that. We are not a managed service provider. We give you complete control and visibility on all users, devices, and applications. Where do you define your SSIDs? What kind of groups? What kind of segments? What kind of DHCP? What kind of IP address? You have complete control and visibility. So just want to clarify that. This is not, you're not outsourcing to us. Think of that as like AWS, where the AWS manages their data centers, but you have complete control on your applications. So, right, microservices, how should they communicate? What should they do it? You have complete control and visibility.
Perfect.
So it's not, so a lot of, we talk to a few of our customers, they're working with us because they believe with Nile, they can insource it without the headaches of managing and monitoring the networks. So the networks are working in, but you focus on, for example, Kerry, to answer your question, I want employee access throughout my building. I want guest access on my first floor. That's all you would do. You don't have to know the number of APs, two APs, group the APs. We give you that complete control where you focus on users, devices, sites, buildings, floors, so that you can set up your network accordingly. Okay.
Thank you.
So what would happen in the scenario where the customer who has complete control of their DHCP application impacts the management IP addresses of your infrastructure?
So let's see if I understand your question. What happens is we call Nile service block, right? That you give us a subnet block because that has to communicate our clouds. It has to be routable IP address. So you give us a subnet block and we have within our own network. So you don't need to use, we don't use your DHCP server. We have built in our own DHCP server that hands out the IP addresses to our APs and the switches and all of that. So if they are making changes, after we deploy it, if they want to change IP address that conflicts with Nile, is that what you're saying?
It could conflict, or if, I guess, I misunderstood. I thought that the customer was giving you a block of IP addresses.
Correct.
For your management pool. That's
correct. And once you give it to us, we handle it in our own. But you have your own IP addresses for the clients. For all the end users and the devices, you have your own IP addresses. You manage it with your own DHCP server, or we have a cloud-based DHCP server that you can use to hand out. But the control of the IP addresses for users' devices, you have control on that as a customer. Does that answer your question?
It does. I guess I'm just wondering the scenario where if the customer hands you a block of IP addresses and then they change their subnetting policy, ends up conflicting with Nile, whatever reason, the customer is making a change that then impacts the performance of your guaranteed delivery of the network, then who takes accountability for that downtime?
Sure. So this is where shared responsibility comes in, as you can imagine, because when they're changing certain things, if there's an impact, so shared responsibility, we'll walk you through that at the end of the session. Okay. So in the interest of the time, I'll move forward because we have quite a bit to cover, and then we'll answer questions as we go along. So almost all our customers, they start with a single deployment, like single site or single floor, and then they try it for 2-3 months because it's a brand new model. Let's be honest, right? It's a network and it's not an easy one. They take 2-3 months to understand it, and then they expand it. Every customer, they start with one, then go to and continue to expand it. So we went back to these customers and asked them, what did you learn about Nile within the first 3 months of testing the Nile? What is the value did you see from us? So business leaders told us that, frankly, even including the banks, told us optimizing the cash flow is very critical for them. They don't have to deal with the CapEx every few years coming out with a big budget. They don't have to deal with that. Then several of our customers, I know Lee, you had comments about the TCO. Our own customers ran their own TCOs calculations and came up with saying that they saved up to 60%. So this is the quote coming from our customers, and we'll have another session someday to discuss a lot more about the TCO side of it. Then several customers, hey, that damn thing just works. I don't have to think about it. In fact, we have some customers we deployed 3 years ago. They don't even know that we provide the service to them. They forgot that we even exist because it guarantees the performance and they don't have to think about it. And more importantly, lately, many of the large customers, they're coming to us because of the security. Recently I was with the CIO And the customer said, hey, we kind of figured out networking. We kind of work it. We know how to manage it. Then the next question asked, hey, are you comfortable with the security posture of the network? He said, no. More and more customers are coming to us because they want to eliminate the ransomware, lateral movement of the malware. That's the reason they're coming to Nile and talking, because of Zero Trust that we have built in is the reason why they're seeing the value in it. And fourth and last one is the IT operations. It frees up their IT resources so that they can focus on strategic initiatives. Just today morning, one of our customers came and talked to our employees. And the biggest reason they said is, I just don't have resources. You guys took care of everything that I need to. With that.
So to that point, I'm sorry to slow you down again. To that point, if nobody has to do anything anymore, what is everybody doing? Are they being walked to the door? What's going on with the IT staff?
So Lee, frankly, most of the teams are struggling to just to keep up with the work that they have. So we're really freeing up the resources, the time. So it's not that they're working out, there's a lot more to deal with the security part of it, cloud part of it, and other broader networking IT aspects of it, Lee. And also, I'm really running late, and let's wait till the end of the session, and then we'll go into a lot more details. We'll be happy to answer every customer scenario, Lee, and what have they done with those resources. So when when we were given that challenge and when we started the company, we did, when we went to drawing board, we did not think of, buying the third-party hardware and software and putting some SDN layer on top of it, and a cloud management layer, and with some AI gimmicks, and dressing up with AI slides. We did not take the easy path out. We did not take the cheapest path out either. Our hardware is high-end enterprise-grade hardware. We questioned every aspect of what we have done in the past 30 years. Do you really need in this day and age? So we did not look at cheapest or fastest way. Frankly, we went, what's the most amazing way to deliver the experience for our customers, IT persons, as well as for every user on the network. And you'll see through that. Now, these next 3 slides are very, very important. Why is Nile uniquely positioned to deliver this? So again, I was an engineer, product manager in my previous companies. What did we do? As you guys know it very well, what happens in the industry today? We built lots of technologies. You want hardware products? 2x2, 3x3, 4x4. How many switches you want? Different form factors? 900 switcher form factor. We built hardware, any kind of what you want. Second is we built all types of architectures, layer 2, layer 3, overlays, underlays, controller-based, controllerless, cloud-based, all sorts of architectures. And we built lots of protocols. And we gave you hundreds of knobs for each one of them. That's what we did as an engineer. We throw it over the wall. Our technical marketing teams, tech docs team, created the documents, configuration documents, best practices, gave it to the customers and the partners. It's now customers or the partner problem to design, config, and deploy the networks. Then we gave you in the past SNMP, some logs, some events, some metrics, now some management tools, whether on-prem or cloud, but it's your problem to monitor and manage the networks. That's the foundations. The foundation is the shift right model. We did not, when we consider the product, we did not consider these challenges. So when we went to the drawing board, we focused on shift left model. That is, how do we really eliminate the day 2 challenges? How do we eliminate the day 1 challenges? So we shift lefted and said, let's look at all the challenges that are happening in the networking industry. We looked at top 100 problems that happen, and we saw 70% of those problems happen because of the configuration errors. We eliminated complete configuration from our networking, from our APs and switches. We'll be happy to go into it. We eliminated all of that. And on top of that, we eliminated all these different protocols, layer 2, there are 20 different versions of the layer 2 protocols, overlays, underlays. We had single layer 3 architecture that we came across. And we decided to go with single platform for access points and the switches. That eliminated all different software release trains that you can think of. By design of the hardware and the software, we eliminated 80% of the problems that happen in the networking. The remaining 20%, when you look at it, happen because of the environmental challenges. Voltage fluctuations, power fluctuations, cable twists, cable-related issues, someone moving things around, someone changing things around. Those are the things. So that is where we said, we will put in lots of sensors, lots of deep instrumentation. As we go through it, you will see it. So that we can have the, for all the environment, the data is coming in real time, and AI automation can take care of 19.5 or 99.5 of the issues. Today, we have hundreds of customers. We do not have people monitoring the networks. We am talking about business critical networks, whether it's universities, whether it's distribution centers, whether it's office space. We do not have people monitoring the networks. It's our AI automation center that's resolving the issues.
So what's something that, because that's a great, cool story, bro. Like, it sounds great, but what are the things that you're finding that are, I'm sure that this conversation could go on and on and on, but are there any big outliers that you found that AI just didn't handle well, where you're like, oh my gosh, that was totally overlooked? Because yeah, the cabling issues and the power fluctuations and all the other things that can take it down, those seem easier to find. But what were some of the big ticket items that you all are very proud of that your system was able to identify and automatically correct?
So actually, let's go to the left side of it, frankly, Drew. And the part is, when you have these network architectures, different architecture, topologies, configurations and all, AI cannot really solve the problem, because your network is different from someone else's network. It's all snowflakes. So biggest one is, even before AI, because AI is not a nirvana. It's not going to solve every problem, let's be honest. Because if underlying hardware and software, the architecture sucks, then AI cannot do anything about it. So what we did is, it's really the design of the network. It's a simple layer 3 network. We eliminated complete layer 2. We eliminated the VLANs. We eliminated the complexity in the code. Every customer, whether it's a university, whether it's a distribution center, whether it's a service center, whether it's office space, I have single network across all of them, Drew. That's the biggest one. We eliminated, AI could not have solved it. So when we looked at the problems, what can you solve through AI? What can you not solve through AI? And we said we need to go back to the drawing board and change the hardware and the software and the architecture to solve those problems. Because you do not want to depend on AI to make recommendations that can bring down the network. So you need the data
control. That makes sense. Okay, that's great. And they are all snowflakes. That's a great quote.
Yeah, thank you. With that, I need to rush in. So first thing is, we focused on eliminating the problems and then bringing the automation, and then we use the AI. So whenever there's a problem that happens at the customer site, today, vendors as a vendor, can you reproduce it? That's a very common ask. Hey, tell me, what really did you do? Oh, I didn't do it. And so in our case, we are not going to ask you, because it's as a service. We have everything that's needed. We have it in our cloud, and that led to the incident. Our AI brings all the contextual data, so that if it did not automate it, it gives it to our engineers, and they can quickly jump in and resolve the issue. And best part is, we're a network as a service. We roll it out to all other customers. So 99.99% of the customers will not even see the problem. Okay, so this is another important part. When we went to our engineers, asked them to write the code, we told them, there's nobody to bring up your software or hardware other than racking and stacking. There's absolutely nobody to bring up your software or hardware. What do I mean? You have OSPF. There's nobody to bring up your OSPF. You have DH. You need an IP address. There's nobody to set up the IP address. It needs to come up and get its own IP address. It needs to start its own LLDP. It needs to start its own protocol. It needs to start its own fabric. So we told the engineers, there's nobody to bring up your software or hardware. Then we told them, you don't have anyone to monitor your data, metrics, events, and asking some human being to take care of it. You have to write the code to monitor itself, monitor your code and your software yourself, and manage itself. That's a foundational difference in our approach to the software development. Hopefully that's clear why we are able to do this. Because of that, we are able to, if you look at, we delivered high performance enterprise grade hardware, and it's a purpose built software for network as a service. It's not something we put it on existing hardware and software. Absolutely no config on the network. Built-in campus zero trust. And then more importantly, I think, Lee and some of your questions are asking about how do we, deploy the network. Literally high school grads can go and deploy it. And then how does the AI automation center come in and do day 0, day 1, day 2? So we'll focus on more on day 0, day 1, day 2 operations as we go through it. With that,